Hey everyone, it's Tristan from Crafting Worlds, and today we're going to be talking about the Wooting 80HE. For those of you that are familiar, it will come as no surprise that this is somewhere that I would land. For those of you who are not familiar, the Wooting 80HE is basically like a TKL-esque Hall effect keyboard by the company that basically started the Hall effect gaming craze. They had the Wooting 1 in 2016, the Wooting 2 in 2018, and they still support that with software back then. So I was having trouble figuring out how to start a review like this. I've had an experience, and I have a question for you before we even get into it. I have a 4-hour-long interview with Calder, the CEO of Wooting, where we literally sat down and just talked about a ton of topics. Really insightful, and it was on a Google Meet, so like it looks really bad, but as like a podcast, if we were to like cut it down a bit, like it literally is like 4.5 hours. Would you all be interested in watching that? I feel like hearing what he had to say could be insightful to many things and how I landed on how this review is going to go. So let us know in the comments if you would like to see that video, and I will work on getting it cut up and made into a podcast of sorts. Yeah, it's a long one. Also, if you have any skills and you want to help with that, feel free to hit me up. Email is always open. Okay, that aside, what aspect are we going to be coming at this from? And look, I'm not a professional gamer, not even close. However, I have had a lot of Hall effect keyboards sent my way now, and I am starting to lean towards using them over normal mechanical keyboards. Hall effect, analog keyboards have existed prior to the Wooting and other ones. It's old tech, but it's also enhanced tech now with software and the way that you can develop for it. And I find that very interesting, but I also enjoy the typing experience on it with a lot of modifications. So Hall effect switches are inherently not as like thocky, or you can't get tactile, you can't get clicky. It's linear only, and they have a very specific feel. But I really like that feel. And the way this review is going to go is I'm going to be coming at this from the perspective of a person who games but wants a keyboard that sits on their desk and does everything. I don't want to swap between keyboards. I don't want to have a dedicated gaming keyboard. I don't want to have a dedicated typing keyboard. I want one keyboard that does it all, the one ring to rule them all. That never ended well for anyone. But that is where we're at. And I feel as though the Wooting 80HE fills that role for me. And I want to explain why. Because I see a lot of reviews, and they are talking about the specs, the rapid trigger, and all the software aspects of it in terms of gaming. And while that is all very valid and extremely impressive, because Wooting has some of the best software for any Hall effect keyboard. They've actually been leading the charge here, and everything else that you see is basically a copy or a clone of Wooting's software. They have a development team for it. Other companies they don't. So the experience for the software on the analog keyboard from Wooting is fantastic and just phenomenal. Now, when I first got the keyboard, I had an issue. And this is how I ended up talking to the CEO and stuff. And I wanted to know what real people, like people that buy this, people that purchase this, what will you go through if something feels wrong with your $329 investment? Let's look at that real quick. So here is the spec'd out keyboard that I picked. I had it pre-built. I went with the zinc alloy case, which is very heavy, by the way, but it, for some reason, just feels really nice. And I got the double shot backlit PBT keycaps in white. And actually, that is the setup I have now. I've gone through multiple iterations of this at this point. Yeah, I've tried the awekeys metallic keycaps. I've tried different GMK keycaps. I have done pretty much every switch possible. The Maxes, the Jade Maxes, the Jade Pros, the Jades, and then in here are the Lekkar V2s. And I have landed on the Jade Pros for now. I really would like to try the Geon Raws because I think that their sound profile is better. The Maxes I enjoyed, but there's like a problem with them where for some reason the Max switches, they get stuck when you're typing on them. So $329. That's a lot, right? That's a lot of money for any keyboard. I got the keyboard, and the first thing I noticed was the insane rattle on my spacebar. So I was like, this is a $329 keyboard, and it sounds like this. And the Lekkar V2s were not to my liking. And I was like, what? Like, they felt weird. And I know that they've enhanced those over the Lekkar version 1s, but I still don't think they're very good. And I know switches are subjective, but I think there's a certain level of subjective. And like, this isn't good. So until I got the Jade Pros and was like, whoa. And this really changed the whole feeling of the keyboard, the sound profile, everything. Before I literally took my keyboard apart. I have tools now, okay? I have mechanical keyboard tools. And I took it apart and I lubed the stabilizers and I replaced them with different stabilizers. And I messed it up the first time, and the spacebar was so lubed that it just wouldn't move. And so turns out you want to raw dog a little bit when it comes to lube. So I removed some of the lube and I got the spacebar sounding amazing. And yeah, the internals of this were very impressive. There's a lot of love and care that goes into this. That's where the interview with Calder, I think, would be very beneficial to everyone, because you get an idea of why Wooting charges what they charge. And this was my hang up, was that, oh my God, look, you charged me $329 with a group buy, all these things that I don't agree with, right? I mean, I'm just supposed to swallow like a shitty sounding stabilizer, and then I'm expected to fix it. Like they sent me lube, new stabilizers, everything. And I asked them, I said, is this what you would do for a normal person? And they were like, absolutely. Like, this is what we would do. And I was like, and what if, someone doesn't know how to build? What if they don't know how to, what if they don't know how to modify their keyboard? What would you do in that case? And they're like, well, within 30 days, you can return it for any reason. And I was like, interesting. So we did have a long conversation about the process of lubing stabilizers and how stabilizers are just inherently crappy. And I would agree with them on this. And, they're looking into ways to change that. But yes, there are problems with like manufacturing lines and just getting these things to all sound similar. And so the quality control on some aspects of the board is going to fluctuate per board. And you will possibly have to open this thing up and do some work to it. Now, that being said, the everyday person probably doesn't want to do that, and you may want to shy away from Wooting. But what I really, really liked and have learned from my chat with Calder was that the Wooting brand isn't just like blind brand loyalty, okay? What the Wooting brand stands for is a group of like 50 people that are working to make the best possible keyboard that they think they can make for different groups of people, gamers, for work, for all these different things. And they're not doing like what Apple does. You know how Apple holds like a one feature down until the next upgrade? They put all the features in. For instance, like their zinc alloy case, the white one that had like scratching issues, they pulled it from sales and they're going to re-release it when they have figured out the process better. That's customer service. Like I don't know anything different than that. Like a 4-hour conversation with the CEO, that's customer service, okay? And so what I have learned is that they really care. And so the product is the best it can be in terms of parts, in terms of how it is made. It is not just thrown through the general factory that makes all of the Hall effect knockoffs and keyboards. It has love and care put into it. He had a keyboard in front of him. He couldn't show it to me, and he just let me listen. And I was like, wow. And so they're like working on the sound profiles and trying different things, and then they release that information to you all like immediately. And that's not even including the software. So as someone who doesn't game super heavy, right? But does game. I do game. I game. Trust me, I game. I game. And when I do game, I go pretty hard. But I find the experience of the Wooting very enjoyable. And I like what they stand for. Now, does that mean when you order a Wooting for $329 that you're going to get a keyboard that you're happy with? No, it does not mean that, unfortunately. And that's where the conundrum kind of kicks in and you're like, why am I buying a Wooting? And you're kind of buying the Wooting because you know that they're going to use the best parts. They're going to manufacture it the best they can. They're going to warranty for 4 years the best they can, 2 years for the LEDs. And they're going to give you customer service that is unrivaled. And they're also going to give you software that is unrivaled, and they are leading the pack, and they are trying to move the keyboard industry forward. And so they're also looking at it in a standpoint, which is good for me, from how do we make a Hall effect keyboard good and useful for someone who's working and doesn't use it for gaming, but also wants to use it for gaming. So how can we enhance that experience as well? And so what I've found is that because of that, and because the software has the ability to modify itself on the fly like that, it is a wonderful all-around keyboard that I can just sit there and enjoy day to day. And I have not, and I am not kidding, unless I had another review, I have not taken this keyboard off my desk as my main keyboard since it got here. Even in the beginning, when the Spacebar rattle was so bad that it was making me bonkers, I still couldn't get over the fact of how it felt, how it responded to my actions, how it felt typing. In the beginning, I put all the awekeys, copper keycaps on it. I made the most expensive Wooting you could think of. The thing was $1,000 by the time I was done with it. I had the Jade Maxes in it. I had the awekeys, copper eagle keycaps in it. So it's like $399. However expensive the Maxes are, God, they're expensive. And then the Wooting itself is expensive. And so it was literally $1,000 board just with that alone. And I'm like, man, what is going on here? Is this what you need to do to make a keyboard sound good? And the truth is that yes and no. the keyboard has so many different sound profiles, and I'm going to play all of them for you. There's so many. I have, when I first got it, after I fixed the stabilizer for the Spacebar, I have it with the metallic keycaps. And they all just have a different profile, and I have it with the different switches. And I find that this keyboard just has so many customization options that it really fits what I want, because it fits the idea of this is the one keyboard that if I want to, I can change it to my preference of the time. And I feel as though a lot of people will benefit from hearing this, because there's so many reviews about like, hey, this is how the software works, this is what it is. And I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to tell you the software is great. I think it's really wonderful software. It's the best that I have used, and for a reason. There's the reason is that they are literally leading the pack for this. And whilst that I do believe that there is diminishing returns, they are finding new and innovative ways to push the keyboard sector forward. And I find that their mission statement and just the fact that they are giving you the best stuff that they can give you right now, not the next version, not V2, V3, V4. They're giving it to you in the version that they are releasing. And if there's a problem, they pull it and then they re-release it right away. And that's great. And I find that really nice. And I don't agree with the group buy stuff, but I understand why a group of 50 needs that. And I understand in a world where you have, Chinese companies copying everything you do, and they can do it for cheaper and they can do it faster because they have look, I get a lot of keyboards, and I can tell you one thing is that you can tell when things are made in the same manufacturing place. Like the internals are the same, the packaging is the same, the keys are the same, like the switches are the same. You can just tell, that these are all being put down the same assembly line. And Wooting goes out of their way to make sure that they are getting you a different experience, something that is more, they're still making it in China, right? But they're not going down that route of the path of least resistance. They are going down the route of how do you buy it once? Yeah? And have that keyboard sit on your desk for the next 5-6 years or more. And that's it. That's all you need. And that is a statement that I can 100% get behind, because you know me, You were on the chair journey with me. If it is good enough, I will pay whatever you want me to pay, because if it is quality and if it will last a very long time, and if you will support it, and if you will give me good customer service, and if the experience is good and the software is good and everything like that, then I don't mind paying a higher price once rather than buying a version 1, then a version 2, then a version 3, then a version 4, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, of a knockoff. Because I'm going to lose more money if I do that. And I would much rather buy from the company that looks like they truly have our backs. And I have to say, Wooting feels like they have our backs. And now I know I sound shilly because I am like, Wooting. And let me tell you something. When I first got the keyboard, I was pissed. I was like, $329, and this thing sounds like shit. But I started to understand it a little bit more, and I started to get into the different switches a little more, and I started to understand the subjectivity of it a little bit more, and I also started to understand the modding world of it a little more. And I understood the different genres of people who buy this a little bit more. And the number one person that buys this keyboard are gamers. It is really good for gaming. And I get that. And I totally get that. And then there is the enthusiast, you know, who just is like, yeah, okay, I'm going to mod the crap out of this. And then you have me. And I fall in between like the gamer and the enthusiast. And I'm learning different things on how to experience this keyboard in the way that it's supposed to be experienced. And so what I've done is I put the Jade Pros, hopefully soon the Geon Raws, but the Jade Pros, I put back the normal keycaps that I got because I like the poppy feel and the sound from it now. I took off the metallic keycaps, although with the metal keys, they sounded so good, but they got stuck. There's a flaw in the processing for the Jade Maxes, just so you know, if you're thinking about that. But that's just like another small thing that the Wooting does right. They do the LEDs right. So even if you don't like RGB, you can appreciate the effort that went into this. And a lot of people will be like, oh, but there's no south-facing LEDs. I don't care. If it has enough lighting, it doesn't matter. It'll light up the whole thing. Plus, then you can get the nice shine-throughs on the top, which mostly gamers use. And so this is a gamer keyboard. It makes the most sense to have them north-facing. This is like an outdated thing to, south-facing is better than north. And nobody really cares, to be honest, as long as your keycaps fit. And with those two little changes, and then learning to take apart my keyboard and rebuilding it, which they made pretty easy because on the inside, it like explains what to do. So if you've been following from the beginning, you know that I still love my Apple Chiclet keyboard. It's one of my favorite keyboards, the wired one, not the Magic keyboard. And it was just something nice about that, the chalky feel to the texture of the keycaps, that little tiny bump, I don't know, it just felt really nice, the way the keys were lined up. And what I've found is that the Wooting gives me the feel of quality, like they're actually putting that quality into it. And with a little bit of modification, you can make it sound proper as well. You can make it sound to what you like. Now, the normal gamer probably won't notice the sound, but I even talked to them about that. And I said, well, if a bear shits in the woods and no one can smell it, it's still shit in the woods. And they acknowledged that. And they said, yeah, of course, we don't want anybody to have a lesser experience, but there definitely is a divide between, you know, a pure gamer and an enthusiast, right? And so they have to build with that in mind, but they're trying to figure out ways to close that gap with the software itself. And so that is very exciting to me. And that is why this keyboard just, I can't take it off the desk. I just am enjoying my experience. Every iteration that I've done of this keyboard so far has been fantastic. Now that I've fixed the spacebar problem, it is just such a enjoyable experience. And so I don't think you can go wrong by getting this keyboard. I think the price is justified because they are a smaller company that are trying to push the needle forward. And in order to do that, they can't undercut everyone. They can't do what some of these knockoffs are doing. They can't just keep undercutting and undercutting and undercutting. They'll go out of business. And so as a small team that wants to move the industry forward and truly believes in their product, I can get behind that. It's like my speakers, right? They're really expensive. If you watch that video about them, you know that they are very expensive. But I believe in Atom Audio because they really, really put the work into making it so you only have to buy it once and you get this amazing experience. This is kind of how I'm going to end this video. There are multiple videos that will probably come out about the Wooting 80HE on my channel because there is no one video that can cover everything that I think about this keyboard. There's like there's the sound profiles, there's the different switches, there's the modding, there's the just general overall gaming, there's all the software features. There's so many things about this keyboard that you just cannot cover in one video, or at least I don't think I can. I'm sure there's someone out there that can make whatever the rant I just went on in 10 minutes. But you know me, I talk and I talk. And so I hope this is useful to someone that's looking at Wooting and going, do I want this? Do I need this? I'm not a gamer. I don't know. I think that this will be very beneficial to people who are in the workplace who want to get work done and want a good keyboard, because when you can set the actuation point to every single key on your keyboard if you want, so I can select all keys or I can just do like, these keys. There is something to be said about that and productivity. So this is a great example of just how productive this keyboard is. So here's all my highest word per minutes and accuracy ratings, right? The Hall Effect keyboards, if you notice, Hall Effect, 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 no, not Hall Effect, Hall Effect, Hall Effect, Hall Effect. It's basically that wisteria switch and then just all Hall effects have dominated my top words per minute now. So for productivity, this thing's got it. So what I'm finding is that if I set these to like 2.0 or 2.3, my typing becomes better. I don't typo as much and coding becomes better. And because of the design of this keyboard, I don't have to sacrifice anything for coding or designing. I have everything that I need. I have my arrow keys. I have my page up deletes and all that stuff. I have my number pad over here. I'm good. I have my F keys. I feel good and comfortable with this design. And so what that means to me is that this is a keyboard that is going to last me quite a long time, and it's backed by a company that believes that it should last a long time. Their software went to their original 2016 Wooting that they just updated, like literally just a couple of months ago. They pushed that to their original Wooting. I believe in the company, and so I'm going to continue checking out what the company has to offer, and I hope that you'll join me on that too. Yeah, I just think that if you're looking for the best of the best, and you want to buy once, the Wooting 80HE is probably a really, really safe bet for you. So we'll have more videos on this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, dislike, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.